Let's talk time management.
You're a voice actor. You're an entrepreneur. You're a VOPRENEUR. Welcome to the Everyday VOPRENEUR podcast, your guide through the business of voiceover.
You have a great website, right? Well, make sure you host it at some place that doesn't suck. Hey, it's Brad Newman, fellow VO Pro for 28 years and owner of UpperLevelHosting.com. People ask why us, and that's simple. We make it easy, respect your time, save you money, and just make all the magic happen. You don't need to know all the tech stuff when it comes to hosting your website. We got you. Ask around. Tens of thousands of client interactions later, and 6 years of amazing customer service, and not a single negative complaint, ever. UpperLevelHosting.com.
The VOPRENEUR podcast. Hey, it doesn't suck.
Not as funny as Conan. Not as cute as Seth Meyers. Not as smart as Colbert. But he's one of us, and that counts for something. Here's Mark Scott, the original Everyday VOPRENEUR.
Hello and welcome to the Everyday VOpreneur podcast, your guide through the business of voiceover. I'm Mark Scott, the original Everyday VOpreneur. We're in the middle of what I'm calling the Tools series. I get asked a lot about the different apps, services, resources, websites, etc. that I use to run my voiceover business and to help keep me productive and get everything done. And so that's what these episodes are all about. In last week's episode, I talked about some of the different services that I'm using to get paid. In this week's episode, I'm going to talk about some of the different services that I am using to help me from a time management perspective. Now, before we get into this week's episode, I want to let you know that Voiceover Marketing Playbook is coming back April 11th to the 20th, 2023. But something different is coming. Playbook 3.0. It's been a couple of years since I did a complete overhaul of Voiceover Marketing Playbook. I'm always updating the course throughout the year and always making sure that information is current and relevant as much as possible. But I've decided that for the April release, I am blowing it up completely and I am going to deliver Playbook 3.0. This is going to be huge, and I'm really excited to get it done, and I'm keeping my fingers and toes crossed that I'm going to be able to get it done because it is such a huge undertaking. But let me just tell you right now that if you are struggling with your voiceover marketing in any capacity, this is the course that is going to help you to figure out how this all works and to be more productive, more confident, and more efficient with your voiceover marketing. I'm going to teach you how to find your own leads, build your own client base, and become the consistently working voice actor that you want to be. So Playbook 3.0 is coming April 11th to the 20th, 2023, and it will be available at voiceovermarketingplaybook.com. So let's talk productivity and time management, which is especially fitting right now because here's what I've realized as I got into doing Voiceover Marketing Playbook. Right now, start to finish, each one of the individual modules is averaging probably 5 to 7 hours to get each one of the individual modules done. And by the time I'm done, I'm guessing there's probably going to be somewhere between 25 and 30 modules, which means I've literally got a couple hundred hours worth of work to do in order to get Playbook 3.0 ready. And in the midst of doing Playbook 3.0, I also have to do all of my coaching, all the individual coaching sessions that I do with people. I'm doing prep for VO Atlanta. I've got 2X sessions to present and a breakout session to present, and I got to get those created. I'm in the middle of a massive update to my Making Money with LinkedIn masterclass, and so I've got to get that done. And then, of course, I still have to have time to do my own voiceover marketing and to do my own voiceover work, submitting auditions and all of that sort of stuff. And so for me, time management is absolutely crucial because I've got a lot to get done on any given day. And so as I was sitting down and looking at some of the different tools that I'm using to help me with that, I thought, you know what, this is going to be really helpful. So there are 4 main components that I would say help me to manage my time more effectively and handle a lot of my scheduling and things of that nature. And so those are the things that I want to share with you today. So number 1 on the list is Calendly. I would guesstimate that ever since I put Calendly into place in my business, I'm probably getting back about 2 hours a week on average. Because you have to think about this. Have you ever tried to schedule a session with somebody and they send you an email and there's a date and a time and you write back and say, no, that doesn't work for me. And so then they write back and say, what about this day and this time? And you write back and say, no, I can't do that, but what about this day and this time? And then they write you back and say, nope, can't do that one. How about this date and this time? Or maybe this date or this time. And you write back and say, nope, can't do that one, but I might be able to do this one. And right, it's back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And it's a nightmare. And it is incredibly time consuming. And it may not feel so bad when you're doing it on a smaller scale. Maybe you're only scheduling out a session here and there or whatever. When you have to schedule multiple sessions over the course of a week, all of a sudden, all of those extra minutes that you're spending in your inbox writing emails back and forth, they start to add up. And so by putting a service like Calendly into play in my business, now I literally just send a link. That's it. Whatever is available when you click that link, whatever dates and times show in my calendar, that's what's available. That's it. And I have several different calendars set up. I have for playbook coaching, for example, I send people a link for 30-minute sessions, shows them a calendar. I send a link for 60-minute sessions, shows them a calendar. When a client wants to book a voiceover session with me, I can send them a link and it shows all the available session times in my calendar. When you want to book a 15-minute consult with me, when you pay for a 1-hour coaching session with me, you get access to a calendar. And at any given time, you are able to select from all of the dates and times that are available up to 2 months ahead on my calendar. I don't have to do anything anymore except send a link. That's it. It's that easy to do. Send a link. It syncs with my calendar, so it shows my available time. As soon as a new booking goes in, that time slot becomes unavailable in Calendly. It's just a beautiful, wonderful, automated little piece of time-saving time management that has been a huge game changer for me. And so I know you're thinking this probably makes more sense from a coaching standpoint, but think about it from a voiceover application. What if you had a calendar for 15-minute voiceover consults? And so when a client wants to talk to you about a job, but maybe they would rather speak with you in person, you could send them a link. They can choose a 15-minute meeting time. It automatically schedules a Zoom link or whatever meeting service that you're using. Everything is automated. They're going to get an automated reminder email. You can set those to go 24 hours ahead or 12 hours ahead or an hour before or whatever, but everything gets set up once and it becomes fully automated. So you could use that to schedule your voiceover consults. Or maybe you're somebody that does a lot of directed sessions. And so you could set up a calendar that allows a client to book a 30-minute or a 60-minute or a 90-minute or even a 2-hour recording session. And they could get an email that's, again, automated, that comes out with a link to Zoom or a link to Google Meets or a link with your Source Connect if you're using Source Connect, a link to Bidalgo Call if you're using Bidalgo Call. But all of this suddenly becomes automated. And it becomes so easy, and it removes all of the back and forth emails. Every one of those back and forth emails starts to add up. And sure, you're thinking, yeah, but it's like 60 seconds here, 60 seconds there. Okay, 60 seconds here, 60 seconds there. Do that a few times a day. Do that a few times a week. Do that a few more times over the course of the month. Add that up over the course of the year. I legitimately believe that I'm saving up to 2 hours a week on weeks when I'm really busy and I'm having a lot of stuff to schedule. And it's not just the time that it takes to write an email, because you're like, Mark, there's no way it takes that much time. I got to write the email, but I also have to go into my calendar. I have to look, where are the available time slots? I have to determine which ones might work. Then I have to put those time slots into an email. Then I have to write the email, and then I have to wait for them to write me back. And so it doesn't take long to add up. So I am a huge fan of Calendly. And I think that there are a lot of different applications where this could become a game changer in your voiceover business, and it makes scheduling so much easier. Now, that leads me to number 2 on my list, which is Apple Calendar. My Calendly fully integrates with my Apple Calendar. So because I'm an Apple guy, I'm an Apple fanboy, I fully admit it. I've got Apple Watch, I've got Apple iPhone, I've got iPad, I've got MacBook, I've got iMac. I'm fully ingrained in the Apple environment. And so I use their calendar. But anytime that I put anything into my Apple Calendar, because it is integrated with Calendly, it recognizes, oh, that time slot's no longer available. Or if I delete something out, oh, that time slot's now available. And it will show it in my scheduling. And so everything becomes fully integrated, which again makes my life easier. Now, for those of you that are not ingrained in the Apple space, by the way, Calendly will integrate with other services. It will integrate if you're using Microsoft. It will integrate if you're using Google, for example. So for me, though, Apple Calendar makes my life so much easier just because I'm so heavily entrenched in the Apple ecosystem. But I have a work calendar, I have a personal calendar, and then I have a shared family calendar as well. So if my wife schedules an appointment I need to know about, she can put it in the shared family calendar. If our 15-year-old daughter is scheduling something, she's going out with friends or she has to babysit or whatever, she can put it in our shared family calendar. So we always know what's going on. I always am able to see what's going on. And then being able to see everything in that family calendar helps me to figure out what hours I have available or don't have available in my work calendar. Everything just becomes integrated into this beautiful, functioning ecosystem that I can access from any one of my devices. And because I basically never go anywhere without my iPhone, I know that I'm always going to have access to my calendar. But using that has allowed me to become so much more productive. But then the second part of that, it's not just the tool that you use, but it's how you use the tool, right? And so I am a big fan of blocking out certain times. So for example, you cannot book a coaching session with me before 10 o'clock in the morning, because that way I have a couple hours in the morning when I get into the office to work on things that I need to work on for my business, auditions that have come in overnight or bookings that have come in that morning, sending some of my own marketing emails, scheduling out some of my social media for the day or whatever. So you cannot book me before 10 a.m. And then on the flip side of that, you cannot book me after 3 p.m. because I want to be able to have the last couple hours of my day in order, again, to be able to work on anything that may have came in during the day while I was doing coaching sessions. And so I block out hours in my day. These are voiceover hours. These are coaching hours. And I find balance between those two. On Tuesdays, for example, you can't book me at all for anything because that is my day. That might be the day that I'm working on a podcast. That might be a day that I'm working on a new course. That might be a day that I'm getting caught up on voiceover jobs. Or that might be a day that, I don't know, I sit and read a book and just relax and enjoy it. But you can't book me on that day. So I'm a big fan of time blocking as well. So it's not just what is the tool that I'm going to use to keep track of my schedule. It's how am I going to set up that tool as well. These blocks, marketing. These blocks, social media. These blocks, recording. These blocks, unavailable. Whatever it is. But making sure that you're setting that up in a way that helps you to stay organized. The third tool on my list is my Clever Fox Planner. And you guys have probably heard me talk about Clever Fox before. I've been using that Clever Fox Planner for several years now. I use the Clever Fox Pro Weekly Undated. Now, there's about 20 different types of Clever Fox planners, but that's the one that I've found works the best for me, is the Weekly Undated Planner, and I use the Pro version. What I like about that is not only am I writing down my goals for the year, and my goals for the quarter, and my goals for the month, but I can also break those down into specific goals for the week. These are my priorities for this week. These are the things that I need to be working on. These are the things that need to be done by the end of the week. And I like it for a couple of reasons. One, I find it very organized, the way that it's all broken down. I like to be able to take my goals and break them down quarterly, monthly, weekly, and then daily. I think that's really important. I think that helps to make everything feel more manageable and more attainable. I also like the fact that it's not digital, because I spend the vast majority of my life in a digital environment. I'm on my computer, I'm on my phone, I'm on my tablet. And so every once in a while, it's nice to just get away from a screen. It's nice to take a pen and paper and just write some things down, jot down some notes, and just be in an offline analog environment. So I'm using that Clever Fox Planner, I guess you would say, more on a macro level. That's where my year gets kept straight, because I go through, usually at the end of December or the first week of January, map out all my goals for the year, following the guidelines that are listed in the planner. And then I can set up my quarter, again, following the guidelines and the pages that are set up in the planner. And then from there, I can figure out my month. And then from my month, I can figure out my week. And from my week, I can figure out day to day what my priorities are. So that's kind of bigger picture. And again, it's the Clever Fox Weekly Undated, and I use the Pro version of the planner, but lots of different versions that you can choose from. So that's the way that I do the macro. Which brings me to the fourth tool, which is where I do kind of more of a micro, I guess you would say, environment. So as an example, in my Clever Fox, I know that on a given week I need to get a new episode of the podcast done. So that's the way the goal goes into my planner. I need to get episode of the podcast done. I need to get this much of a particular masterclass done. I know that I need to get this YouTube video done. I know that I need to do a guest scheduling for Free Advice Friday, right? So I would call that the macro, the bigger picture. The fourth tool that I'm using is where I get into the micro, and that tool is Asana. A-S-A-N-A. A-S-A-N-A. That is my project management app. So where in Clever Fox it says get episode 200 of the podcast done, in Asana, it breaks that down even further. It breaks that down into all of the different individual tasks that are required in order for me to get that episode of the podcast done. That's where I break things down to a more micro level. So, for example, I need to decide who is my guest going to be. And then I need to research, and I need to get my questions prepped. And then I need to schedule the interview, and I need to record the interview. So those all become individual tasks. I don't want to track all of those individual tasks in my Clever Fox, so that's where I use Asana. Take it even further. Once the interview is recorded, I need to get the interview edited. And then I need to get the interview mixed. And then I need to get the interview uploaded to my podcast server. And I need to get that episode added to my podcast page at VOPRENEUR.com. And then there's the marketing side of things. I need to take that episode and I need to get an email written for that episode. And I need to make sure that that episode gets posted on Facebook on my business page and on Facebook in my VOPRENEUR group. And I also want to make sure that it goes out to Twitter, and I want to get it on LinkedIn. And I need to update it because it automatically posts to YouTube. So I need to add a thumbnail, change the description. I want to maybe make an Instagram story for it. And so all of those things become the individual tasks under the larger umbrella of finish episode 200. So for that level of project management, for that level of organization, that is where I'm using Asana. Taking those bigger projects, podcast episodes, YouTube videos that have a lot of components to it. Even my YouTube live streams, there's a lot of components that go into a YouTube live stream. I need to talk to the guest. I need to schedule the guest. I need to prep some questions that I can ask while we're waiting for people to come into the live stream and waiting for people to ask questions. There's graphics that need to be created. There's a lot of stuff that goes into making one of those live streams happen, and it's hard for me to keep all of that stuff straight in my brain. So that is where Asana comes in. It helps me to break things down to a more micro level so that I don't have to actually remember every single individual task. I just need to be able to get that project out there. The other thing that I like about that is, so for example, for podcast episodes, I can create a template. So I don't have to retype out everything that I need to do for every single one of my podcasts. I just need to use a template for each episode and then work through that template. So there's a level of automation that comes. So if there are things that you're doing on a repeated basis, you could create templates as well. If you're writing blogs, if you're making videos, if you're doing social media, right? Some of those projects that you're doing on a week-to-week basis, maybe there's a way that you can create a template within Asana that has all of the individual tasks that are related to that. And now you don't have to create, you're not reinventing the wheel over and over and over again. The biggest part of all of these different tools, one, they give me back time where there are areas that can be automated. Two, they keep me from having to remember everything, which frees up my brain for other important tasks. Because if I'm using half of my brain capacity to try to remember all of the things that I have to do on a given week, the reality is I'm not remembering half of the things that I need to do on a given week. And so it allows me to not have to think about that stuff anymore because it's written down somewhere. So there's a big part of that. It allows me to manage my time better because I can get a bigger picture view. I could tell you exactly what I'm doing from now until the end of April because my calendar is already set. In fact, some of my calendar is already set until the end of December. And so being able to have that big picture and looking at things helps me to plan and prioritize more accordingly. I know that Playbook 3.0 is going to be a huge project, that it's going to take a lot of time. And so I'm able to look at my calendar now and block out segments of my calendar that give me the time that I need in order to be able to get that done. And so you need to be able to have a big picture view of everything, which is what I get from my Clever Fox. But then you need to be able to break that down into a smaller individual task level, which is what I get from Asana. And so I find that those tools for me work hand in hand with each other. And then from a scheduling standpoint, being able to use something like Calendly and to be able to use Apple Calendar, it just takes so much of the work out of the picture for me because all of those things then become automated. They all work together. Now, there is one other essential tool for me for my time management and my scheduling, and that is my CRM. However, that's going to be an episode unto itself. And so we're going to get to that one at a later date. But if you're looking for ways to help you get more organized, to help you prioritize and schedule your time better and to manage your time better, Calendly, a calendar, whether that's Apple, Google, Microsoft, whatever, a project management app like Asana, ASANA. Another very popular one is Trello, Trello. I've used both of them. I just liked Asana a little bit better. And then finally, my Clever Fox Pro weekly undated planner. And you can find the Clever Fox planners. They're available at cleverfox.com, but you can also order them through Amazon and see all of the different planners that are available. But those 4 particular tools are absolutely essential to me being able to run my business. So hopefully, if you're looking for ways to help you become a little bit more efficient and to manage your time a little bit better, one of those tools might be just the ticket for what you're looking for as well. I hope you found this episode helpful. What are you using for your scheduling? What are you using for time management? Is there another tool that I should be aware of? Is there another app or another service that has been really helpful to you? I'd love to know about it. Share it with me. Tag me in your Instagram stories at Mark Scott, or you can hit me up on Twitter as well. And I'm at Mark Scott on Twitter. But I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to know what other tools, apps, resources, services you are using, because I'm always looking for ways to improve my workflow. Hope this has been helpful. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one.
The Everyday VOpreneur Podcast. Available everywhere fine podcasts are given away for free. Mostly, we think.
Having your voiceover demos easily playable and downloadable on your website is essential. The VoiceSam player lets you do that across any device and browser. There are also options for adding play buttons in your email signature, tracking your listens, and even putting videos in your demo player. Sign up now at voicesam.com/Mark Scott and receive an instant $25 credit. For full details and to claim this offer, visit voicesam.com/Mark Scott.
And scene.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for hanging in. Thanks for hanging out. Want more VOpreneur goodness? Jump online at VOpreneur.com.